Greetings, adventurers. Dame Cart. Recently, I ran a Shadowdark game, and it was a quickie, just a little 3-hour jaunt. And in that 3 hours, we managed to have some dungeoneering, one quick social encounter, and 4 combats in those 3 hours. Okay, that's not something you can do with 5e. I had some 5e players, and they were a little surprised at how things worked. Shadowdark is definitely built for speed. Okay, stripped down and built for speed. So I just handed them each their player character sheets of I had 8 pre-gens, and they could just take their pick and we could get going. If they had to create their own characters, it would have gone very quick, but I wanted to get this all done in a very tight 3 hours. So that's why I did pre-gens. Anywho, so 4 combats plus got the dog here wanting attention. 4 combats plus the and one short social encounter and some dungeoneering. Okay, it kind of felt really old school in the way it worked. So one of the combats was very quick because it was mage wins initiative, steps forward, casts sleep, and then the beastmen fall asleep and you'll just stab them to death. Okay, quickie. One of the battles was a TPK where we demonstrated how much trouble a downed character in Shadowdark is in. Once you hit 0 hit points, there's kind of a bleed out timer. Roll a d4, and that's how many rounds you got. So the only chance of you doing anything, roll a d20 on your turn, and on a 20 only, you can get up with 1 hit point. Or magical healing, or somebody does a DC 15 int check, which a medicine roll of 15 is hard to make when your intelligence stat was rolled 3d6 down the line. Okay, so you're not going to have a lot of characters running around with a lot of high stats. Okay, we had that TPK. We had the main boss fight where the players were in a large room, and they took advantage of that large room to try to space out around the bad guy so he could only attack 1 or 2 of them, and they kind of played monkey in the middle with him, with this Minotaur, using maneuverability. So everybody had the same 30-foot movement speed. And what they had going for them is that Shadowdark does not use attacks of opportunity. So you're going to get people moving in, moving out, moving around, which in every edition of D&D I've ever played, I've always had the players just lock themselves down, and they will never retreat. They will almost never withdraw from a fight because, well, he's going to get an attack on me. He's going to get a free attack on me. Granted, 5e has the disengage action, but you rarely ever see it. Rarely. Now, I wouldn't necessarily remove attacks of opportunity or opportunity attacks, however you want to phrase that. I've heard that argument. I wouldn't necessarily remove them from 5e because then you would really be handing rogues and monks a little extra power, and I don't know if I really want to mess with that particular apple cart quite yet. Thematically it'd be appropriate, but I don't know. The backgrounds, character backgrounds, single word. We had a guy whose background was ranger. So he just said, hey, because of my ranger background, I would like to do some tracking. And I'm like, okay, fine. You can roll the same die as anybody else for tracking, but that ranger background, you roll advantage on that particular roll. So we had our designated tracker that way. And that's simple, as opposed to some editions of D&D where background was its own set of mechanics. So people would have to be mixing and matching and all this other nonsense, and there's just more stuff on the sheet to have to track. it was just easy to run, easy to play, quick to play. I will say inventory, encumbrance. Encumbrance is a mandatory part of Shadowdark. It is baked in. You get, but it's easy to work, okay? So you get your 10 equipment slots. Armor might take up 2 slots. 10 arrows or 100 arrows or whatever might take up 1 slot. But it all works in a matter of slots. So between the encumbrance and the torch timer, you have to make decisions. And the encumbrance forced my players' characters, to have to make decisions and have to think and solve a problem. And that problem was, okay, we're mostly loaded down, and we just found this other dead adventurer. How much of his gear can we take? And they ended up leaving most of it because encumbrance, and yet they're ticking off torches as they go. The roll to cast way of doing magic, I like it. I did have one player who says he would prefer a much more complicated system. He was in the minority, but there are players like that. I like the fact that these players can just have a short list of spells, and you can cast these spells as many times as you want, so long as you keep making your rolls successfully. We had somebody try to cast a Cure Wounds, fail. Not only can you not cure wounds right now, you cannot cure wounds until the next day. So magic is unpredictable, and it's a bit of a risk. So you don't want to necessarily have to roll when you don't have to. So you're not going to cast certain spells knowing you might burn them out, and you're not sure if you're going to burn them out. So I like the risk and unpredictability of magic in this system. There's not a lot I would change about Shadowdark, except maybe more than just the core 4 classes. And there are a few additional classes out there on the internet or in some of their little zines that they've produced. But as an overall review of Shadowdark, okay, for our play experience, I would recommend it. I like it. While it lacks a few details, you could cook some of those up. I think Shadowdark's ideal niche, I think that this is one of the best games for teaching a brand new player with, because it's so quick and simple and basic. This is like basic D&D or basic version of 5e or basic, D20 ascending AC. So overall, I give it a thumbs up. And if you have any comments, put them all down below. I'm going to put a link to a site for getting some dice with a little bit of a discount code. Feel free to use that. Otherwise, like and subscribe and all that other good stuff. I'll talk to you later. Damn Kurt out.